Any more questions, Miffy?
Yes, there are a couple.
Okay.
So, what's the best way that we can support others who are having trouble accepting this whole experience of COVID-19?
Exactly. This is where, it's a really interesting point. The wisdom wing, like I said, is all the work you do on yourself. You become intimately familiar with your own mind. You control your body, you control your speech, because whatever you do makes the person you become, and you become very conscious and kind of grown up. So then wisdom means. It sounds odd to say wisdom, but you just think about this. If you're yourself, if you see someone else who's so caught up in their own needs, they're so self-centered, they're always neurotic, they're always depressed, always jealous, not criticizing, they can't see past their own nose, can they? They can't even know anybody else is existing because you're overwhelmed by your own misery. That's how we are. So as we learn to control our body, speech, and mind, we become more conscious. So then we're moving some of the rubbish out of our own mind because we're more conscious of ourselves. So naturally we become more aware of other people. So you get more wisdom in seeing what's going on instead of seeing everything through the lenses of your own crazy needs. That's why we suffer so badly. So if we have lots of attachment, which means attachment is the junkie that only wants nice things. So then you see, forget the person who can't handle COVID-19. Think of your own brother who's an alcoholic. You've got lots of attachment for your brother, and you love your brother, you love him, but you see his suffering. So what do? Because our compassion is there, it's real, but it's polluted by our own attachment. It's polluted by our own neediness to make everything be nice. So because your attachment can't stand the pain, can't stand your wretched brother, you talk about him behind his back, he comes home and vomits in the soup, he upsets mum and dad, you get all this. Attachment makes you get responsible for everybody else. You stick your nose in where you don't belong. So you act with all this compassion to try and make your brother better, but you're just forcing him to be what you want him to be because you can't handle it. Whereas if you've got less attachment and less anger, you're more reasonable. You see your brother for who he is. You have such compassion, but you're not stupid. You know he doesn't want your advice. He's not asking you for his advice. So for your advice, he doesn't want to change. He's not ready to change. So you love him for who he is. So you have to have the wisdom to know how to help. So compassion is seeing someone suffering, but wisdom, which you get from working on your own mind, is your ability to know what to do to help. Now, some people might be open to help. Other people, your brother does not need your advice. Leave him in peace, mind your own business, and love him for who he is and stop trying to change him. That's what's so powerful. So because attachment, you see, wants to make everything nice, we stick our noses in thinking we're being compassionate, but we're not. We're just minding everybody else's business. So love a person for who they are. If they want your advice because you love them, they will turn to you. If they don't want your advice, just love them for who they are and protect them from themselves and others. So it's really, wisdom is very powerful. Compassion is the wish to help, but it's the wisdom to know how, which is what makes you help. And that only comes from working on your own mind. If you've got attachment and aversion, you can't help anybody. You just make a mess.
And so then, Venerable, what about the paramedics and all those courageous workers that, go hard for so long and then suddenly they just burn out and can't do it anymore? Exactly. How can we help them?
Love them. I mean, love them. What else can you do when a person's worked so hard in helping other people and is exhausted? You just love them. Don't criticize. Don't give advice. Just take care of them. Make them a meal. Help them have a good sleep. Love them. Be someone to support them because they're exhausted taking care of everybody else. So you be there to support them so they can collapse. That's the most precious gift you can give anybody. Let them just be, and love them.
And is there a way then for a Buddhist way to cure PTSD or to help with that kind of trauma that, because sometimes people are debilitated for years?
Because we haven't dealt with our minds. Is that a question or your view? It's your question or somebody asked
It's Robin's question and Rosetta's question.
Both together?
Well, similar, yep.
What's Rosetta's question?
Rosetta's there with Jason and Amy.
I know, what's her question? Good, Rosetta. What's her question?
So Rosetta was about the paramedics. Why do they burn out, and how can we continue to work with compassion without burning out?
Okay, we'll leave that first one first. Okay, this is what's hard to hear, but if we want a technical explanation why a person suffers, which I've been talking about, Rosetta, you don't tell the person that. When the paramedic, your paramedic friend comes to you exhausted in tears and drained, you don't give them a lecture about why they're suffering is because they've got attachment and why they're suffering is because they've got aversion. But that is the reason they're suffering, Rosetta. Can you hear that? That's the reason. But you don't say that to the person. That would be rude and cruel. You give them whatever love you can and support them and let them cry on your shoulders and let them have a good sleep and make them a meal and be a person that they can rely upon so they can collapse. That's how to help people when they're like that. You don't give lectures to the people, but that's the technical reason we suffer, Rosetta, which is very hard for us to hear because because life is so fraught. There's a person in prison. I can see it, my friend, Sunny in prison for 17 years, like I just told you, that suffering. We would all go, of course she's got PTSD. Of course she's exhausted. Of course she's out of her brain. We would say that automatically, but she's not out of her brain. She was able to deal with her mind as and when she had that suffering because she had no choice. That's what's incredible. So, if you have a bodhisattva, a person who doesn't have attachment and doesn't have anger, that person is a paramedic. They wouldn't suffer. They'd need a good sleep, Rosetta, but they wouldn't have PTSD. They would not suffer. This is what's hard to hear because it sounds like you're blaming us. But this is what's hard to hear. But this is a very technical answer. Are you hearing me, Rosetta? So when see, that's the point. Instead of going, it's your own attachment and your own anger, because that's how we're so punitive when we talk to each other like this, because we treat karma like so heavily. But when you know a person's suffering, you see them immediately. You see how much they're helping others, they love, but they've got attachment because they're a normal human being. They haven't worked on their mind. So of course they're going to be drained. Of course they're going to be exhausted. Well, you don't give them a lecture about how to stop their mind. You just love them for who they are. And give them a hug and give them a bed and let them collapse and weep and offer them a nice meal when they wake up 12 hours time. You've got to know the person's mind before you can help them. Do you understand what I'm saying, Rosetta? Does it help you? Does it answer? So one thing is, it's a bit like if you've got cancer and you're freaking out completely, you're in a complete panic and you go to your oncologist, and then because your oncologist actually, they understand, but they can't wait to look at your disgusting cancer. They love your cancer. They can't wait to get their microscope on it and start to do an analysis, right? But they're going to tell you, oh, what a delicious cancer. Oh, look at this, is because of this and because of this and because of this. You don't want to know about that. You just want their sympathy. So you've got to have wisdom that informs your ability to see the problem. And then knowing where the person's at, you now know how to deal with them. So if you're an oncologist too, and you're not afraid, you'll talk to your oncologist as colleagues and crack jokes about the cancer. So you've got to know where the person's at in order to know how to help them. And you only know how to help them because you know how to help yourself. Are you with me, Rosetta? Good.
Then there's also a question from Doris and also from Robin Bean, which are very similar. So Doris had a light bulb moment, the moment that you said having aversion to aversion and how that kind of elicits our feelings of depression. And Robin's asking, so if you are a good girl or a good boy, how should you notice the aversion that you've stuffed down?
I know. And this is the part that's difficult. This is the job that's difficult, This is what the whole point, what we're discussing here is really, a subtler level of Buddhist practice. It's really quite sophisticated. Not as if I'm so clever I should know. I'm not trying to mean like that. But to really see to begin to really unpack and see our minds and recognize the attachment, the aversion, the depression. Because what we see when the thing happens is we see the object and we get fixated on the object that caused it. So we've got to reverse that energy like a bomb and start putting the microscope on what's arising in the mind. We have to be very steady to do that. And this just takes lots of practice. But you've got to control your body and speech first. You've got to live in vows. Do lots of purification. And then we recognize, because ego grasping only, and then attachment only wants a nice feeling. So what happens is, and this is the irony when we start to practice, we think we're getting worse. They say in the texts that even at the first of the 9 stages of single-pointed concentration, this amazing technique, that you've got to get to the mountains and do it because you need a very particular situation to achieve this concentration. At even the first of the 9 stages, you think one of the symptoms of success is you think your mind's getting worse. So because we've been mostly unconscious all our lives about our mind with respect to us, when we start to watch our mind, the first thing is we think we're getting worse. So what we automatically do, because this is the irony of attachment, our attachment wants only the nice things. So that means our attachment wants only to have nice thoughts. So when we see the negative thoughts, we see the anger, we then start criticizing the anger and criticizing the attachment and criticizing the depression. So we keep adding more negative roommates. It's got never ending. So this is where we've got to shift and be happy to see the anger, be happy to see the jealousy. You've just discovered this roommate that has always been there, but you haven't noticed, and now you're delighted you found them, and now you see the problem. So we've got to be glad to see the delusions. Be happy you've just met this crazy level of anger, and as you keep seeing the anger, you're going to dig deeper and get levels of subtler anger, and these delusions go to incredibly subtle level. We've got to be interested in wanting to see them, not, oh, I wish they'd all go away. So we've got to go against attachment itself and be glad to greet the rubbish, because now we can identify the problems. Now we can see what's causing our suffering, and we're so happy. That's the shift we have to make, and that really takes a lot of courage and a lot of clarity to do that, to shift our interpretations, you know. Because if you can't recognize a problem, how can you solve it? You've got to see the problem of what it is, then you can solve it. You can never solve a problem until you identify the problem. So that means you don't get angry with the problem. You're happy to see the problem, because now you can fix it. That's the point. It's a whole different view. But we're addicted to not being able to bear the misery. That's why we want to have a pill or blame somebody else or deny it. You know, that's how we live. It's automatic. We have 3 modes: vomit it all out and blame everybody else, have depression, blame everything yourself, or live in denial. So it's a whole new kettle of fish here, you know. Have to have a lot of courage to do it. And the basis for our courage is that these are only thoughts and they're habits, and they're not intrinsic. They're not at the core of our being. That gives us great courage. And the other one is we've got to start seeing our good qualities. We never notice our good qualities, never praise ourselves, never rejoice in our virtue and our kindness and our generosity and our love and our compassion. Other people see it. All we do is see the negative. That looms large in our own minds. It's just such a bizarre irony of ego, you know. What else?
So Robin's also asking that she's interested because when it comes to mental illness, some Buddhists advise drawing a line between Western psychological methods and what Buddhist practices can address, and others think there's nothing Dharma can't achieve.
There is nothing Dharma can't achieve, but whether a person's capable, that's another discussion. I'm not sarcastic when I say we're all mentally ill. If we take the Buddhist view and speak in a very positive, in a very natural way, then the extent to which we have any ego grasping, any attachment, any aversion, any depression, any jealousy, is the extent to which we're mentally ill. It's very simple for the Buddha, because his baseline is perfection, remember? His baseline is Buddhahood. Our baseline is mental illness. So when we realize that, then we are all mentally ill. I'm not being sarcastic when I use that word. I know what you mean when you say it. So, but it's all a question of degree, isn't it? So obviously this information that we have here is for us, because we've got some semblance of ability, some semblance of intelligence, some semblance of merit, and some semblance of sanity, that we can actually hear it and attempt to practice it. But if there are some people who aren't capable, we can see the suffering is so intense, then clearly the Dharma is capable of anything, but whether you're capable of using it, that's the question. So clearly lots of people aren't capable of fixing their own minds. Look at the suffering world. So that's why we have to help others. That's why we have compassion, to help those who can't help themselves. Because you've got to do it yourself. This is work you do yourself. You're being your own therapist. And that's a pretty brave attitude to have. So we have to know what a person's capable of, you know. That's the point. Robin, does that make sense? I think so.
And Sharon asks then a similar question following on from that. What about individuals having accountability or insight into their behaviours then?
What about it? I don't understand the question. There's not enough in that question for me to understand it.
Well, I've kind of also noticed that, especially in Buddhist circles, that there tends to be this passivity, that because everybody is overwhelmed by their suffering and you have compassion for them, then you kind of leave it be. It's just like a habit thing, rather than expecting people to be accountable for what they do.
I don't understand the question. I'm so sorry, Mary. I really don't understand the question. I can't get the implication of the question. Give me a scenario. Don't make it too general. Can you give me a simple scenario, assuming you understand what Robin's saying? Where is Robin?
No, this is from Sharon. So
okay,
if
Sharon, are you there, Sharon? Are you there, Sharon? Sharon, are you there, baby? Can you say your own question?
She's not writing anything yet.
But where is she? She must be here somewhere. Is she on the show? She's on the show. There's Sharon, where are you? She's not here. There's no Sharon here.
It might be on another page.
There's only 2 pages. I've only got 2 pages.
So can you hear me?
Yes. Now I can hear you, but I've got to see you too.
I can't see it. Yeah, I don't know why the picture's not coming up, but that's okay.
Okay, now ask the question, Sharon.
Sorry, I'm asking that purely because, and just listening to the conversation throughout this session, and I understand what you're saying regarding even, let's say, pedophiles, etc. Why? I know we're saying, for them to have for us to show compassion, so to stop less or worse karma coming to them. But for me, and I find within the world these days, there's a lot of people that do things, but there's no accountability for their actions.
But
maybe
Sharon,
I'm nursing background, so I probably have always worked in a reflective practice,
yes.
Not perfect,
yes.
but I just wonder about that, because I tend to see that accountability is not. And look, I'm only new to this. Looking at I am, but I look upside down.
I know. I can see your ceiling. I can see your ceiling. Why can't you face it? Never mind.
I don't even know where my camera is.
There you go. But it's upside down, baby. Turn it around. You got your device upside down, Petal. Turn it up the other way.
I don't know how to do that.
Just turn it around. What is it? An iPad or an iPhone?
It's a laptop.
Oh, okay. Never mind, Sharon. I can hear you. So listen, Sharon, I've got to ask you more questions because the question's quite interesting. So give a simple example of a scenario, then we can deal with a scenario. Give me an example. A simple example.
Okay, so let me think. Oh God, there's so many.
Well, Sharon, even the one that you just gave of an example of a pedophile, say someone at a school, and then so many times in our culture not being held to account, or most of the, all the teaching faculty going, it couldn't have been them, or they didn't mean it, or what's the harm done? So not much accountability.
Is that what you're meaning, Sharon?
Beg your pardon?
Is that what you mean, Sharon?
Yeah, it is, and that's probably to the extreme. But you're right.
My question to you, Sharon, is: of course, people aren't being accountable. That's the Buddha's entire point. All of us are feeling like innocent victims. All of us ego will desperately, frantically try to get off the hook. That's just the way ego functions, Sharon. So of course, there's no accountability. That's the whole point, honey. But the point is, from my point of view, if I see somebody who's not taking responsibility for their mistakes, what can I do about it? What do you want me to do? Because in the end, each of us has to do it ourselves. So if I see a person who lied but denies responsibility and blames everybody else, I can give them a lecture if you like, but in the end, there has to be an action at the end of a discussion. So what's the action here? There's a person out there who doesn't take responsibility. I agree with you. It's the entire world, honey. That's how we are. So what's your question? Yeah. After that, what's your question? So the question is this: I have to learn from that and go, my God, I recognize that. So I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to become accountable so I can help others. That's the best I can do. And if I can help that person take accountability now, if they want to know about it and I give them advice and they take it, then I've succeeded. But 99% of people don't want advice. They tell you go mind your own business. So we learn from it ourselves, Sharon. Yeah. So then in the end, this is the wisdom wing. When I read my newspapers and I read all my about Mr. Trump in this country, because people love to read about Mr. Trump, every newspaper is full of stories about Mr. Trump, then it's so easy to go wank about how evil this monster, how dare all these people, we love to do that. That's just me getting more angry. So what am I going to do about it? If I can walk into Mr. Trump tomorrow and give him a talk and help man change, wow, that's called compassion. But I can't do that. So what do? I read the papers, I read the stories, I watch YouTube, and I go, wow, I see lying, I see hubris, I see ridiculous, I see arrogance. So instead of criticizing it, I go, wow, I recognize that. Thank you. I say two things. I recognize that in my mind, and I say, thank you for showing me how not to be. So in that way, I learn myself from the world, and then if I can help, I'm doing the compassion wing as well. Otherwise, we just all go mad. Are you seeing my point?
Yeah, true.
Sharon?
Yeah,
so we have to learn ourselves, because we are all recipes of the same thing, just different recipes. We've all got the same delusions. We all got lying. I can recognize Mr. Trump. I tick the boxes: lying, hubris, arrogance, stealing, attachment. I don't grab ladies by the pussies or anything, but you understand, I recognize the delusions and I go, thank you for showing me how not to be, Mr. Trump. And it's very powerful learning. That's how we learn from the world. Otherwise we go mad. And then the compassion wing is, what can I do to help? And you do what you can, where you can, knowing this is samsara, this is the crazy humans and our crazy minds, So it's not passive in any
Thank
way.
you.
We help where we can, but compassion has to be the basis of help. Then wisdom tells us how to help. And we can see, Sharon, many times there's zero we can do except just love a person.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Sharon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the one.
A big thing to achieve.
And we just keep moving,
Yeah.
keep moving, keep moving, and
Thank
growing
you.
our own ability to see our minds, knowing we're all cut out from the same piece of cloth. Just some of us are worse than others, that's all. And then and that's what gives us some compassion for ourselves. And then we have a connection with others, and then we can be of benefit when we can. And say strong words if we have to. Absolutely, risk ourselves and stand up for what's true, even though we'll get knocked down. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's true.
You understand,
Thank you
Donna?
very much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
There's one more question from Onyx Yeshi Youngshin,
Yes.
who asks, it's important to assess your own capabilities to better assist others.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
even if we've got compassion,
Yes.
but we can't help others,
Yes.
or we've got physical limitations.
That's right.
So how can we rationalize? How can this be rationalized with our Buddhist vows or with our right livelihood?
But I mean, it's not a
When
question.
we notice.
But sweetheart, it's not a question of rationalizing. You're not trying to prove anything. It's not intellectual. It's not policy. It's not politics. You can only do what you can. I mean, if I could go tomorrow to all the prisons and open them up and fix them all and give everybody a home and help them all, I would do it. But we can't help. 99.9% of the time we can't. So the Bodhisattva vows, excuse me, burping, the Bodhisattva vows is the willingness to constantly grow in my wisdom to know how to benefit whoever's in front of me. So if there's an ant I can save, I save the ant. If there's a person I can get from under a bus, I do it. If there's one person I can give $1 to, I do it. But 99.9% of the people suffering, we can't help them. So what you do is you don't give up. You keep aspiring like the Bodhisattvas every day. I will never give up. I will never give up working for others. I will never give up doing what I can. And as you progress through your life after life, becoming more powerful as you get realizations, and you're able, at the lowest level, even Bodhisattva can manifest in 100 different bodies simultaneously. We're not talking about one nice person here. We're talking an outrageous level of practice. And you get to those levels and you can benefit countless beings. But you just never give up. It's a long-term goal. Never give up. Optimism. Never give up. Never give up. And there's no choice. Does that make sense?
Then also Stephen asks, should we call out poor behaviour if we see it, like somebody makes
if you
a
have the
sexist
wisdom
remark?
to know, it will help. Most of us, because we come out of attachment and anger and we rant away at our own, vomiting out whatever we think, and we're so holy, and it's on deaf ears. What's the point if no one's going to listen to you? You've got to have the wisdom to know that your action will bring benefit. Otherwise, you're just bashing your head against a brick wall. That's not passivity, it's intelligence. You've got, and this, if we come from attachment and anger, this are the words we use, I mean, it's like, we're just so heavy. It's all so heavy. We've got to realize everyone's in a mania. Everyone's suffering. Compassion has to be there first. Then what can I do to help? So if standing up for something, protecting somebody, saying something will help, fantastic. Risk it. Do it. Nothing wrong. 99% of the time we don't do anything because we've got attachment, and our worst attachment, we haven't begun to talk about this one, our worst attachment is to being seen as a nice person. We're terrified of sticking our head up because we don't want to be criticised. That's why we become so cowardly, because of our attachment. But we have courageous, we'll risk doing things. We'll risk our lives. We'll risk. I mean, those, freedom riders, they even wrote their wills before they went on those buses because they accepted that they could die and they were prepared to die. That's pretty powerful. Courageous, So you do what you can. We do what we can. According to our capacity. You cannot do more than what you're capable of. It is not possible. But you have your vows and you aim to get better every day. You keep practicing. So, call out whatever, if it's going to be helpful. If it will be helpful. If not, you're not going to prove a point. It's not politics, It's trying to help people. I hope it makes sense. All these very interesting questions. Thank you so much, people. What else?
Well, there's just been a couple of light bulb moments for people, so that's really good. We've got about 10 minutes.
We can do a little meditation.
Do we have a meditation or a checklist that you can give us of what should go through our mind before we open our mouth?
No, we'll do a meditation. But we'll dedicate, and we'll do dedication at the end. Just, even if 1% of what we've talked about is, do that one. one step at a time. Have courage. Long-term view. Dalai Lama says bodhisattvas think in terms of eons. I mean, it's ridiculous again, but we have to, otherwise you just go crazy, you know. Let's do a little meditation. So this is from Lama Yeshe's Mahamudra. So first let's get our bodies in a nice position. Your body doesn't meditate, but it's good to have it in a conducive position, okay, because your mind meditates. So we just treat it as a very natural activity. There's about 7 or 8 bits of the body that we need to get in a nice conducive position. The first one, of course, is Holiness says, you know, all the holy beings say, it's best to sit in what they call full lotus, which is the 2 legs up on the other thigh, you know, and that's a really stable, wonderful position because people can meditate for days and weeks without toppling over. 99% of us can't do it, but if you can, as Holiness says, it's really auspicious to start your session in that position just for a moment if you can. It's very good. If you can't do that, ordinary cross-legged. If you're not doing that, most of us probably sitting in a chair, so don't slump into the back of the chair. It's best if you sit upright. It's best if you can sit upright. But it's only going to be about 6 minutes, so we're okay. But even in 6 minutes, we can nod off to sleep if we're not careful. So that's your that's your legs and everything. Then your back, your whole body should be very upright, but not tense. As soon as we upright our body, we tense our muscles. So have your body upright and then flop your muscles, but don't collapse your whole body. Keep your bones upright, but your muscles relax, especially your abdomen. They don't say that in the text, but we all squeeze our abdomen, you know. Relax it. Shoulders upright. Your hands in the meditation mudra like this if you want, like this, see, left underneath, right on top, or just relaxing in your lap. It's your call. Treat it as a very natural thing. Don't get all holy about it, okay? And your head's the main one. There's 3 different things, 3 or 4 things there. If your head's slightly tilted forward, chin tucked in a bit, your lips apart, jaw relaxed, and tip of the tongue behind the top teeth just near the palate. All the great meditators over the centuries, this is all very practical, have found that this stops you from dribbling, stops you from having to swallow your spit. It's very practical. Finally, your eyes. All the great meditators who meditate day and night keep their eyes open because their mind is so subtle that the eye consciousness is no longer functioning. But because we get distracted, so don't do that. So have your eyes lightly closed and your eyes underneath your eyelids looking down as if you're looking along your nose towards the ground. Okay. So settle into this position now and then forget about it because your body doesn't meditate. So we're going to do it really simply. We'll discuss it all more next Saturday. Oh no, we've got more time to. What are we doing? We've done today, haven't we? This is the end for today. Okay. So we'll just think about it. We'll just do it and then we'll discuss it more next week. So okay, what we're going to do with for 5 quality minutes, we're going to watch. We're going to simply. There's many parts of our mind, and the part that's going to do the looking, it's actually called attention. There's many bits all working together. These are the mechanics of the mind. And one is called attention. So we're going to pay attention. So with determination, think, I'm going to pay attention to whatever pops up in my mind. You don't try to conjure any thoughts. You don't discuss with them. You don't analyze them. You don't try to make them go away. You just like watching, like a hawk. Pay attention to whatever pops up and let the thoughts come and let the thoughts go. But you try to keep your mind sharp and alert. Don't space out, okay? So simply pay attention to whatever arises in your mind. Just keep your attention very sharp. Just watch. So relax now. It's about 4 minutes something. So that's 4 quality minutes. It's not bad, 4 minutes just we never even notice. So just 4 minutes, attempting to watch your mind. Whatever happens doesn't matter. So that's enough. That'll do us. Okay, Miffy? Good enough? Food for thought?
Lots of food for thought.
Lots of food for thought. So we just have to, just one step at a time, have confidence, attempt to see our good qualities. And you see, that's the point. If we can see our good qualities and own those, it's easy to see the unhappy ones. But if we only ever point out the unhappy ones, it's very painful. We need to boost ourselves. It's very practical. We've got lots of virtues, kindness and love and compassion, intelligence and the wish to be of benefit. They are marvelous qualities. These we can develop. Do never underestimate. We have to point them out. And then it's easy to see the rubbish, And then slowly, control our body, control our speech, control our mind. So even one day at a time, make a vow. At night when you do your 4 opponent powers, your purification practice, you're going to vow tomorrow, I'm going to watch my speech like a hawk. Most of us might not go around raping and killing too many people. I should think so. But it's our mouth. Look at it, So then in the morning when you wake up, you make a vow. I'm going to watch my speech today. And you're the beneficiary. That's the point. You'll be the beneficiary. You'll feel so happy about it. Of course, we're not discussing you people who never say anything. You've got a different practice to do. So we're discussing the loudmouths like me. Okay, you people.
Venerable, I have an offering for you. So we don't have a mandala.
Oh, look at
because
that.
we changed venues. So what we have is an altar vignette, and we'd like to offer you an image of White Tara.
Oh, darling, how beautiful. Look at that.
For your health and long life, I've been inspired to make lots of little altar vignettes. So
Look
here is one
darling.
for you.
I love it.
And,
beautiful.
And Robin earlier said that the way that you teach the Dharma feels like a high-dose vaccination against the viruses of the mind.
Oh, good.
And continuing on in a very creative way, sometimes we can even be asymptomatic carriers and not realise it.
There you go.
She doesn't know, where do you get this bottomless energy from, Venerable, but thank you, and please keep coming back to give us booster shots.
I will, darling. We'll keep going. I love that. It's just a beautiful image. Thank you so much. I love it. Thank you, darling. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Now it's midnight. I've got to calm my mind down so I can go to sleep. I get all energized now. I have to get up and do some work. Okay. Thank you, darlings. Much love. All being well, I'll see you next week. Okay? And
All being well.
all being
See
well.
you next week, everybody.
And
Thank you.
And may compassion grow and grow in the hearts of all. And may we never give up. Never give up, people, okay? Never give up. Much love. Thank you. Thank you, Miffy. Thank you, everybody. Bye, sweethearts.